The root fungi, the Mycorrhizae, are probably among the most underappreciated organisms on this planet. I think many people have a vague notion that they exist, but have no idea how crucial they are to life as we know it. Indeed, without Mycorrhizae, there would be no plants and no animals on dry land. Well, maybe they would have made it eventually, but they would probably look very different. All land plants are the descendants of one common ancestor that could only make it out of the water, some 600 million years ago, because the fungi in the soil helped it to survive, getting water and nutrients out of the soil. Only later did plants develop roots, and some plants still don't have roots. And the first animals on land were arthropods, so spiders and insects and such, and they were eating plants and fungi. So without the symbiosis of plants and fungi, they couldn't have survived there either. As Merlin Sheldrake puts it, what we call plants are in fact algae that have evolved to farm fungi, and fungi that have evolved to farm algae. And don't think that because they now have roots, that modern plants don't need the fungi anymore. Almost all plants are in constant symbiosis with mycorrhiza fungi. All root tips are surrounded and permeated by fungi filaments, and they help the plant get water and nutrients out of the soil, especially phosphorus. And you can even taste that. Strawberries, wine, bread, everything that comes from plants tastes differently depending on which mycorrhizal partners they have. A third to half of all the biomass in the soil is mycorrhizae. They hold the soil together. Remove them and the ground washes away. Fungi filaments are 50 times thinner than the finest roots and 100 times longer, so they have much more reach to get these nutrients out of the soil. And in return, they get some sugar from the plants that they produce via photosynthesis. Indeed, some plants can't even germinate without the right kind of fungus present, like for example orchids. So an orchid by itself is not a viable organism. That means that each orchid is kind of a plant-fungus hybrid creature. But in fact you could say that pretty much of all plants. Without mycorrhiza fungi, they can't grow as well, if at all. Mycorrhizae are just as much a part of being a plant than roots or leaves are. And maybe even more so. You've probably heard that some plants are parasites. They don't have leaves and can't do photosynthesis. They're not even green at all anymore. No chlorophyll. So how do they survive? Well, you guessed it, with the help of their mycorrhizae. So these plants can also live without leaves, without photosynthesis even, but not without their fungi. Their mycorrhizal partners redistribute all the nutrients that they get from all the plants that they are connected to and give some of them to the parasitic plants. And why do the fungi do that? Keep alive a hungry mouth that doesn't give anything back? Well, maybe it's just a mistake. Maybe if the fungi knew what's going on, they would stop. Or maybe the parasites do give something back. Maybe their roots help with making the soil accessible. Or maybe they provide something that's potentially even more valuable: information. Because for the vast fungal network, feeding one plant might not be a great cost at all, but this parasite is one more node in the network, a sensory organ, if you will. Plants are amazing creatures for sure, but for some of their cool abilities, fungi should actually get the credit. Here, have you heard something like this before? There are plants, broad beans, when they get attacked by aphids, they produce a scent that then attracts wasps, which lay their eggs into the aphids. And then that's the end for them. So this is pretty cool. A plant calling for the enemy of their enemy to get rid of them. But what's even cooler is that nearby plants, they also realize what's going on and they also start calling for the wasps, even though there's no aphids on them yet. And of course, together they can attract way more wasps. And this is often celebrated as an example for communication and collaboration in plants. But rarely do the fungi get the credit. Do you know how the other plant knows that one of them is threatened by aphids? The fungi tell them. And if you wanted to make the case, you could spin this into a more fungus-centric narrative. And of course, that's what I'll do here, and say that the fungus is actually raising the plants like a farmer. And when aphids threaten its crops, it makes sure to have them call for the wasps, and also lets the other plants do the same. So really, this is a story about amazing awareness and coordination and husbandry in fungi. The plants are just along for the ride. The fungi are the actors here. Well, the true narrative is probably somewhere between these two. But my point is, don't forget and don't underestimate the fungi. And by the way, in case you think that you've never seen a mycorrhiza with your own eyes, let me show you some fruiting bodies of common mycorrhizae. Yes, white button mushrooms, fly agaric, truffles, and many more are examples for mycorrhiza fungi. And now you know a bit more about what these fungi are doing below ground. The mycorrhizae connect all plants with other fungi, and both also communicate with animals. It is therefore no exaggeration to say that all living things on an island or a continent are connected by a web, exchanging resources and information, just like in James Cameron's Avatar, which was in fact inspired by the mycorrhizal fungi. Sadly, we can't browse this wood wide web. We'd have to learn the language of the fungi first.